It's just before noon on a quiet day in a small Michigan town. October 11th, 2024. Police get a call for a home invasion. When they arrive, they find a scene of chaos. An elderly woman, injured and restrained, is inside the home. She's shaken, terrified, and she has one question that no one can answer. Where's her husband? He's not upstairs. He's not outside. A few moments later, he's found in the basement. And what investigators uncover next will launch a multi-state manhunt, pieced together by a trail of digital evidence that maps nearly every single step the killers took. This case didn't start with some sophisticated criminal mastermind. It started with two men and a plan so reckless, it fell apart almost immediately. But the consequences were permanent. We're in Rochester Hills, Michigan, a quiet suburb just north of Detroit. It's a place filled with family homes and peaceful streets. On the night of October 10th, 2024, at a house on Newcastle Drive, there's a knock at the door. Outside, two men are standing there, claiming to be utility workers from DTE, the local energy company. They say there's a gas leak in the neighborhood and they need to check the property. But the timing feels off. It's late, way too late, for a routine check. The homeowners, Sam and Linda Murray, don't feel right about it. Even though the men flash some kind of identification, the couple refuses to let them in, and the so-called utility workers leave. For a moment, it seems like the situation is over, but it wasn't. They were coming back. The very next morning, on October 11th, Linda returns home from a doctor's appointment around 10 a.m. Her husband, Sam, is already inside, making lunches for his employees. He was planning to head to his own work around midday. Then, another knock at the door. It's the same two men from the night before. This time, they are more insistent. They say they absolutely have to check the furnace in the basement. And this time, Sam agrees to let them in. He leads them downstairs, and the basement door closes behind them. That was the last time Linda ever saw her husband alive. About 15 minutes later, one of the men comes back upstairs. But now, his entire tone has changed. He demands money. He asks for a safe, for jewelry. Linda, absolutely terrified, gives him what she has, around $300 from her purse. And then she asks the only question that matters. What did you do to my husband? Just then, the second man appears from the basement. According to reports, he is covered in blood. He looks at her and says, "Sam is sleeping." Linda screams. The men then assault her, restrain her with duct tape, and tie her to a chair. They ransack the house, grabbing what they can, and then they leave. Somehow, Linda manages to free herself just enough to reach a phone and call 911. When the police arrive, they find Sam in the basement. He has been killed. The cause of death was blunt force trauma. The man who lost his life in that basement was 72-year-old Hussein Murray, but everyone knew him as Sam. His wife, Linda, also 72, had been by his side for 54 years. Sam was originally from Lebanon. Together, he and Linda had built a beautiful life, with 3 sons and 11 grandchildren. He was a business owner, running both a pawn shop and a jewelry store called Gold and Glitter Jewelry, and investigators quickly realized that this was the reason his home was targeted. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was planned. Authorities immediately turned to the public for help. They asked for any security camera footage, any doorbell videos, anything at all from the night before and the day of the attack. Soon, a Ring camera video from that first visit when the suspects were turned away is released to the media, and even though they were wearing disguises, one of the suspects is recognized. He's identified as Carlos Jose Hernandez. Soon after, the second suspect is identified as Joshua Zuazo. Someone who had supervised him at a previous job recognized him, partly because of his distinctive walk. Investigators also learned that the two men were childhood friends, and both had prior criminal records. Now, this is where the investigation really starts to accelerate. That same day, police find a burnt-out white truck that matches the vehicle seen in the security footage. It has a DTE-style logo on the side. The license plate turns out to be stolen. More CCTV footage shows another vehicle leaving the area right after the truck was abandoned, and this car is traced back to Carlos Hernandez. From here, investigators begin to follow their trail, step by step. They track the purchases of items reportedly used in the home invasion, including duct tape and other supplies. They find a vehicle sighting at a Lowe's, where the suspects were seen buying those items on the morning of the attack. In other words, The plan might have been in the works for a while, but their execution was incredibly sloppy. They left a trail of evidence everywhere they went. Sensing the police closing in, Carlos Hernandez flees the state. He takes his wife and children and heads south. But he doesn't get far. He's stopped in Louisiana for a routine traffic violation and is immediately arrested. Inside his vehicle, investigators find key evidence, including items stained with the victim's blood and jewelry that Linda identified as hers. About 2 days later, Joshua Zuazo is arrested back in Plymouth, Michigan. The forensic evidence was damning. DNA from both men was found on the duct tape used to restrain Linda. As the case gained public attention, a local sign maker contacted the police. He told them he had made the magnetic DTE signs that were used on the truck. He had no idea what they would be used for and wanted to cooperate fully with the investigation. The case went to trial in October of 2025. Carlos Hernandez's defense was that, yes, he was there, but he didn't kill Sam Murray. Joshua Zuazo's defense was that he wasn't there at all, and it was a case of mistaken identity. The jury didn't buy either story. Both men were found guilty of first-degree felony murder. They were also convicted on charges related to the unlawful imprisonment and assault of Linda Murray. In December 2025, they were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This case is so disturbing, and not just because of the disguise. It shows how quickly an ordinary day, a normal life, can be shattered by a targeted, violent plan. But it also shows how a trail of digital footprints, camera footage, credit card purchases, and forensic evidence can help investigators close in on suspects with incredible speed. It all started with a quiet street, a knock on the door, and a claim of official business. And in an instant, a family's life was changed forever. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more true crime analysis.